I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. We're coming to you from somewhere in Colorado. We're in an Airbnb. We're on the tail end of a multi-day duck hunt where we started up in Wyoming and have worked our way south. And today I'm joined by Mr. Casey Butler.
Hello.
From Hush. New to the podcast is Koby Owens.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you on. He is our relatively new photo video guy. We'd have had him on the podcast before, but he hasn't been in the office yet.
Yeah, you know, we started September 25th and spent the majority of the fall on the road. From August to mid-December, we were like 90 of 120 days on the road. So, yeah, haven't been around the office much, but it's been a great time with you guys so far, and looking forward to the adventures we have coming up.
Yeah, well, we're gonna unpack a little bit more of that in a little bit. And then lastly, not but leastly, we've got Sam Seeton.
Great to be back.
Sam, what do you do?
Mainly I just hung with you guys recently. But
Seems like it.
but no, I'm founder and CEO of Infinite Outdoors, and official Weatherby hunting partner, I guess.
We've actually, the three of us have done several hunts. Now this is our third.
All of our second hunt.
Yeah.
But you guys did.
We did
the deer hunt, Adams Bowl.
Yeah, we did a cool elk hunt with them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounded awesome.
It was awesome. But this hunt specifically, Sam reached out a while ago and was like, hey, what if we did this thing where we book our properties, kind of work our way south, maybe kind of follow the migration a little bit. And I'm like, that's perfect because we got some new shotguns we want to test out.
Oh, yeah.
So we actually are putting the final touches, final testing on the new SORIX shotgun. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll have launched. Casey, you shot that thing pretty good.
I'll tell you what, man. I was telling you before, well, the first day of this hunt, you know, I try to shoot my shotgun a fair amount, but nowhere near as much as I probably should. And I've shot the Element, I've shot the 18i, and now the new one, and they all shoot fantastic. But yeah, I had a day today. I'm gonna say that. I was feeling myself.
It was impressive. It was impressive.
Dude, you can say that, but Luke, I'm not kidding. I told you this all week. You are phenomenal behind a shotgun. I never knew that.
It was our first shotgun hunt.
Yeah, but it was fun to watch.
Well, I appreciate it. I had a couple lucky shots.
No. Yeah, I say that, but over and over every day I was like, kept looking over like, dude, Luke, that was fantastic. And then finally by the day I'm like, you shoot a shotgun a lot, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I've shot one fair bit.
Yeah, fair
like,
amount.
Dude, it's fun to watch because I think a lot of times when I go duck hunting, the majority of the time it's pretty slow. Yeah. And then when you do get birds in close, we miss them. And it's like, man, that's one of our opportunities to watch. So to watch a guy that like doesn't miss a lot of opportunities, it's fun.
Well, we all let some go for sure. But
were you shooting righty or lefty today?
I shot righty today.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday when I kept telling you, I was like, man, you're impressive. And then I realized halfway through, I'm like, you're shooting left-handed too.
Yeah, I was.
And why were you shooting left-handed?
Well, the SORIX, it's a pretty cool feature that the bolt handle can be taken out of the bolt and then basically just come around, exchange it over to the other side, and then there's a slot on the non-ejection port of the receiver, so you can quickly make a right-handed gun left-handed operational. You do have to drop the trigger group, but then you can actually switch the safety, so you have a left-handed safety also.
So you can switch everything. So if you were to have it set up on the left-hand side and you were to present that shotgun to somebody, they wouldn't know that it was on the right-hand side. Like, it's that
Yeah, I mean most things. So it's the bolt handle and the safety, which are the two most important for your operation of the shotgun during field use. When you're like loading it for the first time, the bolt release button, that's kind of fixed on the right side below the ejection port, and then the shell advance button that will also lock back the bolt. That's kind of fixed next to the trigger guard. That's probably a little more righty friendly, but it's pretty easy on with your left hand also to just wrap around.
Reach around there.
No biggie, but pretty cool that it's ambi shotgun for the most part.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like, has that ever been done before?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I think that reversible safety has been done before. That's a thing. We're not new to that, but being able to take with the same shotgun, remove the bolt handle and flip it around. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. We're really pumped about that feature. So Kobe's like, man, I really need some left-handed content. I'm like, well, I've like messed around with clays shooting lefty. I'll just shoot lefty.
Yeah, and you're out shooting everybody lefty.
Yeah.
I felt like we're in. I don't know if you've ever seen Princess Bride, where there's Inigo Montoya and he's like fighting him with his
Aha, you
offhand.
fool!
Yeah.
Victim to one of the classic blunders.
That was Luke. He just like
He's a voiceover character.
just making every single shot. It's like, can you shoot any better? He's like, I'm not even lefty.
Yeah. And he proved that today.
Yeah, he was sniping him. Like,
yeah, that's not what this podcast
Yes, it is.
about. No,
We're crowning
no,
you
it's
the
not.
best shot on this whole trip.
No,
Get him his trophy, Sam.
I think that gun's easy to shoot lefty.
Yeah, that gun is easy to shoot. That's what I was saying earlier. I've shot all your shotguns, and I've always enjoyed it. But, man, I really felt comfortable behind that new one.
Yeah.
And I shot it well, and I'm excited about it, man.
A couple years ago, we were doing like an Annie Oakley shoot, and we went through. Everybody was pretty comparable, and we're like, well, let's go lefty. Yeah. And so everybody was kind of like handicapped similarly, and I don't know. I was like, it felt crazy awkward. I'm sure it looked awkward too, but there's something about like the intentionality of doing it completely different. I felt like I couldn't miss. I'm like, this is.
Oh, really? Left-handed?
Yeah. I was like, I didn't hardly miss. I was like, feels wrong, but it works. So. Yeah, I've done it a little bit here and there over the years, and
Yeah, I shot a turkey once left-handed with a shotgun, and then I killed it, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, truth be told, 2 shots yesterday, like I just kind of got sloppy mechanically because it's lefty, and I'm not used to like bringing the gun up at the shoulder, and I don't think I had it in the pocket all the way, and I got slammed twice, shooting 3.5s. It hurt.
Yeah,
it hurt me bad. So, Koby, what was your role on this trip?
yeah, so just trying to build us a little episode here that we're going to post later on YouTube, and getting the final assets I need for the launch of SORIX. So that being some video stuff for the launch film and some last images. I already have a great image base built up from the hunts that we lined up, 2 field tests this shotgun in all these different environments, but just kind of getting some final last assets for the launch.
This is all live now. You don't have to give like great detail, but where all have you gone getting content on this thing? And while at the same time you're getting content, we're doing field testing. So
Yeah, exactly. So started out in Kodiak, and that was truly epic. Doing sea ducks, scoters, Harlequin, longtail, and Barrow's Goldeneye. And that was my favorite one of the couple I'm going to mention. And it was actually the easiest. I thought coming in it was going to be the hardest to film because of how fast those ducks are going. But the thing was there wasn't like brush in my way to try and like film around.
right.
So that one, and then
hold on. Is that the very first place that the SORIX has ever been used in a hunting situation?
No, that wasn't the first place.
I was gonna say
that would have
that's
been sweet if it was.
pretty cool story there.
Yeah, it would be cool.
But one of the first, right?
Yeah, one of the first.
Shooting sea ducks.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yep. And then we did a hunt up in Montana, eastern Montana, with the Final Approach crew. And then Arkansas, went down there, did some timber hunting. Unfortunately, with how the migration has worked out this year, that wasn't the most action of a hunt. We've actually had quite a bit more action on this hunt than that one. And then we're here now in southern Wyoming and somewhere in Colorado. And then I think we have one more day potentially in Nevada, depending if that pans out. So.
Yeah. So Sam, on Infinite's platform, you have a lot of different waterfowl properties.
Yeah,
all over.
tons.
Like, what all states do you have waterfowl properties?
I think we have waterfowl properties in Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, kind of all over.
I think that your platform's awesome in lots of ways. Casey, it's why we can't have nice things.
Jeez, man. I'm glad we're not filming this.
I wasn't going to use this thing.
I get it already. Well, that's how I feel right now. I apologize.
Yeah, I got a little distracted. Case just pouring water down the front of his.
Well,
It's my first time ever drinking, so.
I was
go
going to
ahead.
try to let it go, but I couldn't.
Jeez.
So, like I was trying to say, is your platform, I think, is awesome. We've used it for deer, elk, and now waterfowl. And I grew up, my whole like entry into hunting was waterfowl. And I grew up like public land warrior, where you've done like scouting, you found ducks, you're like doing everything right, and then you show up and then like not 200 yards away there's like some wallies that just sky bust everything that comes by, and you're like, well, this should have been a great hunt, and then it wasn't. And with what your platform is, like the first spot that we were at outside of Casper was super cool. We came into this hunt the night before. Koby and I almost went off the road. It was snowing hard. It was cold.
Brutal of a drive. Yeah.
And as brutal as it was, we're like celebrating how bad it was,
Yeah.
because we're like, it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
We haven't had any weather, like finally getting some snow. Like this is going to help the birds move around, hopefully freeze some water so they're less spread out, kind of conjugate them a little bit more. But
Yeah, so we're pumped coming in, and what I loved, like my first experience on this waterfowl property is we just about drove exactly to our hunting spot, unloaded some stuff, went and hid the cars. I'm like, this is cool. And no worries about somebody being too close or whatever. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely makes it a lot easier, and I think everyone's done that public land grind at one point or another, and there's nothing wrong with that. Still like doing it, but there's a big difference between showing up at 10 o'clock, sleeping in your 10 o'clock the night before, sleeping in your truck, hiking your decoys in for 2 miles, and then just to set up with your next 40 closest friends out there.
Well, yeah, well, like some states like Missouri, I mean, it's great hunting, but you go in and you're going in crazy early in the morning to get in on the lottery to hope that you get drawn to go hunt public land.
Where does this happen at? Missouri?
Yeah, there's some
Is
spots.
that how it's worked?
They do that in Texas too, and Colorado's even has
Yeah.
some spots where you come in, you have to put your like a card in there.
Yeah.
And
Like the morning of, and then they do a little drawing.
Yeah.
so
like,
if you
all
just
right.
drove
That's
out
wild.
2 hours out east and 12
Yeah.
people
Dude,
beat
for
you, you're out of
folks that don't have a lot of time, you know, they're weekend warriors. Like that's a tough scenario for them.
And it's really not that expensive for a waterfowl hunt. I mean, it's
what me and Sam have been talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I really think that what you guys are creating, what you have created, is going to be the bridge between, you know, the public land guys and allowing public land guys to go and actually hunt some public or some private stuff without spending a ton of money. You know, I would say if you've hunted long enough and hunted public, which all of us do probably 90% of the time still, but if you've hunted public land long enough, there's probably been at least one or two scenarios in your life that you've been like, man, if I could just go and hunt that.
just right over
Piece
there.
of
They just want to go
private.
in that
Yeah.
spot.
And, you know, unfortunately, not everyone has the means to go and lease a bunch of public or private land up. But with what you guys have created and how you guys are running it, it allows
It's
the
a day
average
lease.
guy
It's
to
a day
go,
lease.
to go
Yeah.
spend less than $100 and have a little piece of property to himself for the day.
Yeah. Wanted to clear that up for anyone listening. You're not leasing it from Infinite. You're actually leasing it direct from the landowner. We're the tech solution and the kind of conservation aspect to help those landowners use the platform and manage their own asset. And by doing that, that's why it's able to be a lot cheaper, because you're not paying someone that holds that lease that's also trying to make money. You're just going right to that landowner and kind of streamline it for everybody and making it cheaper.
And also to clear something up, one thing you said is like you just see all those ducks pouring in over there, so you want to go to that spot. Even when you're in a good spot, you still do that.
Oh, yeah. The grass is always greener,
The
right?
grass is always
Especially duck
greener.
hunting.
Yeah, and duck hunting is highly dependent on weather. And so as epic as we were thinking that the first day of that hunt was going to be, what did we scratch out that day? Like essentially a full day sit. Well, back
Yeah.
up. Casey, you had some plane, trains, and automobile problem.
I had a wild ride getting down here. I mean, to me, I do this multiple times every year. I'm like, all right, it's going to be an 8-hour drive, 8 to 10-hour drive if I just drive. Or I can book a plane ticket, which was super cheap. It was like $300 to get myself from Idaho to Wyoming. And it was going to be like a 4-hour process. And I was like, well, that will save me some time, give me a little more time at home with the family, which I'm always trying to get more of. And then it ended up just being a complete catastrophe. And 24 hours later, $600 more, I ended up in Wyoming. So,
yeah, you got worked over a little bit trying to get over here.
Missed my connecting
not
flight.
fun to be there. So we had to start the hunt the first morning without Casey. But you didn't miss a lot.
Sounds like.
Yeah, we had like what 4 or 5
4
in that morning, and
Well, it was like one of those days where kind of everything was just not quite perfect. It was overnight that snowstorm let up, and it opened up to like perfectly clear skies. So right at first light, before first light, we were finishing up throwing decoys. Birds are pouring into our decoys, and we're just like fist bumping, like, this is going to be amazing. And then as soon as it was legal shooting time, like we missed the whole first flight because it was so early.
yeah,
No wind.
No wind, yeah, and ultimately, even though it was like a blizzard on the way down, it wasn't that cold, and it hasn't been that cold. More importantly, so all the little water, most of the river's still open, and so those birds can go anywhere they want.
Yeah. So as a fairly new duck hunter myself, I've hunted ducks since I was a kid, but just not very consistently. Like I'll do it maybe twice a year. But there's a lot that goes into making, like, if you were to like visualize the perfect day of duck hunting, there's a lot of things that would go into that, right? Mostly
Yeah,
dealing with the weather.
yeah,
But you want, from what I've gathered this trip, you guys are way more versed in all this. You want all that little water to be frozen. You want all the water to be frozen.
it varies regionally, but when like we're hunting a river,
Yeah,
and
so
then,
down
yes,
here, that was
yeah.
the whole plan was like a lot of that river freezes. Where that property is never truly freezes, correct?
right, yeah, and because that's what we were thinking going into this is normally central Wyoming.
We started talking about this months ago, and it's January in Wyoming.
I mean, normally everything's been so far frozen, like, we're at our wits' end already. We've been snowed in our houses a half dozen times. This year, not so much. There's like ponds still open, the river's wide open, and where we were at is below a power plant. So normally 40 miles of river upstream just locks up solid, and then this is the first open water, and everything's still wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's one of them. Cloud cover is big, right? You want some clouds.
Yeah,
Which is that? What
I'm
does that do?
50-50 on that.
Oh, really?
I've had some of my best days on bluebird days. To me, when it's tough to get them to come in, I want it to be cloudy because that first flight, they'll often just start it early. Like you can shoot 30 minutes before official sunrise, but sometimes that's just not enough. Like
They're flying earlier
they're
than
flying
that.
early, and you can see them when it's really clear. It's like I still have 10 minutes. I can make out that bird in the air.
You can identify the species
and
of duck.
it's that wait, that 10-minute wait. Then it's just so hard. That cloud cover helps with that a ton.
Yeah.
To where like okay, that kind of happened this morning. It was
We had the
cloudy.
two extremes. The first day we're just watching them. We're like we could. We can ID everything.
Yeah.
But we can't legally shoot, so we're just watching them land, take back off, just for 10 or 20 minutes. And then today we had to wait 10 or 20 minutes after
legal shooting.
We couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
because we couldn't see. We didn't know
Because
what
of the
types
clouds.
of ducks we were shooting, and so we're just watching them coming in and out. So kind of hit both the extremes, a happy medium.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I would say, from what I've seen, is, which I would have never guessed, and I'm sure I've heard this in the past with hunting with other people that duck hunt a lot, but the wind is a big thing.
Big thing. Yeah.
And you really have to like plan like your spread and your setup according to the wind that day.
Right. Well, just like an airplane needs to land into the wind, ducks typically are going to land into the wind. And so if there's not very much wind, then they can kind of do whatever they want. And so you can get surprised. Like today, most of the birds came from the right. There were some, the ones that were going to come in and decoy in we had some passing shots at ones going left to right, but for the most part, the birds that were doing what we anticipated them to do were going from right to left because they were coming into the wind.
But yeah, I think you said that the other day is majority of the time ducks going to always land into the wind. They might fly by you with the wind, but when they go to land, like to actually come into the decoys, it's going to be coming against the wind.
Sam, you're a pilot. They're doing like a right base, and like what's a mallard stall speed?
Right. It seems like 0 into the wind there.
Yeah, some of them were just coasting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they come by at like 85 miles an hour one direction, then turn around and just float right in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from a filming aspect, that the wind really is an asset to me because, like you said, they're more predictable, and so you can actually, like you said, you're less surprised. You can kind of get a little bit more of a system of like where you're peeking out of the blind, when you're going to pop up, and so yeah, today was a lot better for me than the last 2 days. The last 2 days were rough.
Well, there's a lot of differences. So there's different types of properties, and on Infinite, you got great pictures of each landowner's property and what you're getting into, and so the first two were kind of just like a spot on the river. So the first one was more natural cover. The second one was like an assembled ground blind, for lack of a better term, like an A-frame type situation. Well, that was a what brand was that?
Alps.
Yeah, an Alps. I mean, it's a really nice blind, but you don't have a lot of room. And then today's was like a full-on V-shaped constructed like blind,
like bending along with the curve of the river.
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
It was awesome. So you know what you're getting into going into it. But today's was really, really nice. But just depends on what that individual property owner is working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's things that our biologist and our team will, help them with, because some of these landowners don't understand.
They might not be hunters themselves.
They might not be hunters themselves, so kind of coach them along, give them resources. Some of our partnerships like Alps, they help our landowners on our platform get into those to help the hunters, and and some it's just straight up, here's the property, and it's not going to be pressured, but you're gonna brush your own.
You got to go figure it out.
Figure it out, and then that's also reflected in the price and the property description.
Well, I think that's why your descriptions on the website or on the app is very valuable. There's the descriptions on each land or each piece of land is very valuable because it kind of talks about that. It talks about if there's a blind there, if there's what you can expect. Because for me, when I go into a hunt, especially in a new area I've never been to, I always want to try to like paint the picture of what that's going to look like. And so even though I know you've been on all these properties in the past, and you sent out the invites, a couple days before we came down there, I was able to go and read and kind of like paint myself a picture of what, I might need, or like what was it going to look like when I got there. And I think it's super valuable that you guys do that on the app.
Man, it's so clear. Like you go into the adventure, you can see, okay, this property's details on the map. Park here, like a red dashed line. Walk this path to the blind. Like it's
it's dialed.
Yeah, Casey could even do it.
Yeah, I even showed up in the right spot 24 hours later, but I was there.
Yeah, that's our litmus test. We're always just like, could Casey do it?
Here I am. I haven't been lost one time since I got here.
Yeah, so day one we didn't have the greatest shoot, and it had nothing to do with the spot. It's actually, I could see it be an amazing spot. Just other factors were against us.
We also missed like 15 times that day. Also.
We did do some air balls. Yeah, we did. And also, I think this is a thing that probably, I don't know if this gets talked about a lot in duck hunting, but I think there's something that happens when you're with your crew, your normal crew, your boys that you hunt with every weekend. Like, what each other person is capable of shooting wise. When you're with like I've hunted with Casey, we've hunted turkeys, we've hunted deer, we've done antelope, like all kinds of hunts together. With a rifle, like I feel like I know how to hunt with you pretty well, but I don't know what kind of like aerial shotgun shooter you are.
Yeah, that's a very good point, man.
I've never hunted with Sam before. Like, I don't know. Are you comfortable with a 30-yard shot, a 40-yard shot?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then also like, what's the patience level? Because sometimes you're going to get 5 circles or 5 passes of these birds trying to decide if they're going to commit and come into the decoys, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out what kind of attitude the birds are going to have that day. So you give them like one too many chances, and then they're like, this is the one, and then they're just gone.
Right, and day one, we didn't know you were a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
So it's like, somebody's like, should we take it? I'm like, this guy doesn't know anything. And then one time's like, all right, we'll take it. And he just caves it. I'm like, all right, cat's out of the bag. I guess we're shooting every single shot like that.
That's a good point to bring up, man. I saw that a lot now looking back. I didn't even think about that. But I think there's a lot of birds that we probably should have shot at that we didn't for whatever reason. It was like after they passed, we were all like, hey, why didn't we shoot? And it was like you're waiting for the next guy or waiting, you know. But that's why most, like, the shows I've watched when people shoot ducks, like, there's somebody that calls something out. But they've hunted with each other enough. They know.
They know. Or they're with, like, a guide that's like, I'll call the shots.
Yeah.
But we're like kind of all equals. We're buddies. And so it's hard to be like the guy that's going to be like, I'm calling the shot.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like, why'd you call that shot? That was stupid. They were going to come in.
Well, it's extra hard today with just because that blind was really unique. It was like an arrowhead point. So the left side of the blind really couldn't see anything from the right, especially with the wind.
And vice versa. Yeah.
So either side kind of had to just, you know, pull their weight and call the shot because we didn't know. Like, there's certain times where you had birds land in the decoys, and then all of a sudden hear a gunshot, like, oh, they were here.
Yeah, now looking back, like, we made a very big mistake by putting me on the right side because that's where the majority of the birds came. I don't know how many birds, like, just showed up, and I was like, oh, they're right there in the decoys. Then I realized later, I was like, oh, I should be looking around the blind to see, you know, give everyone a heads up. But I was secretly just trying to get shots off on ducks before you guys even knew what was going on.
Before we talk about today's hunt, because I do want to get into that, but I want to ask Koby, get his take on the differences between filming bird hunting versus big game hunting. Because every hunt,
this is so much harder,
except for the Kodiak, Arkansas, and Montana. But most of your experience pre-Weatherby is big game hunting, right?
Yeah, and then like layout blinds for geese, which in the right situation, that's not too hard. I've been in a couple situations where I was like removed from the layout blinds, like 100 yards behind, so it's like not too hard to film. But filming duck hunts is hard, man. Like I'm way more comfortable with the pressure of trying to capture the stock and a stock of someone shooting a deer in archery season or elk in muzzleloader season, right? Like that's no easy task in itself, but I'm a lot more comfortable with it, because of experience, but I don't know, the brush that's in the way with the duck hunting and like the popping up and like the decision of, oh, do I film the guys and the reactions that they're going to have when they're shooting the shotgun, or how much birds falling from the sky and getting shot? Like there's like, I'll tripod a camera occasionally and just have it on you guys to try and get that reaction, to get that shot stuff, and then be tracking birds with the other camera. And I still haven't figured out the perfect lens combination either, right? Like there's been a lot of trial and error, and it hasn't been easy. This is actually probably the hardest thing I've ever filmed.
And then just the mechanics of when you're in a low light situation, you want like a really large aperture, which means you have a lot of background or foreground blur, depending on where your subject is.
Getting the birds in focus, it's a battle because on one of the lenses I run Sony cameras, Sony A7 IVs, and I run a 70 to 200, and the manual focus on that is so dang touchy. When you're at a low aperture, if you're in autofocus where the camera and the lens are doing the work for you, it's a struggle to get focus on the birds because there's no contrast besides the birds in the sky, and the camera really struggles to get that.
Yeah.
But on the reverse side of that, in manual focus, as the bird's moving and you're pulling focus, it's super easy to get out of focus. And so it's like I said, I haven't quite gotten it dialed in.
It's really hard.
I've learned a lot this year. So I think next year's videos will be a step up, but excited to get back to the edit cave and see what we got, what we can put together. But yeah, I think that filming duck hunts and trying to produce episodes out of it is probably the hardest thing I've ever done film-wise in my career.
It is tricky. It's really hard. So we're outside of Casper. We're a little further outside of Casper on day 2. It's better than day 1, but the bar was low. We got what we asked for, and that it was cloudy in the morning, so it delayed that morning flight. And then the first 30 minutes was really maybe the first hour. But we're feeling pretty good. our spirits were lifted a little bit from the day before. Today, we drove through a partial blizzard to get out of Casper to come down to Colorado, where it's clear as can be by the time we get here. I thought it was supposed to be a blizzard down here too. So I had like this like emotional roller coaster of like, maybe we shouldn't be leaving here because it's like it's just now getting perfect. But this morning when we pulled up to the blind, I'd call it a slough. I mean, it was a cool spot.
Oh yeah,
cool spot. The cover, like, well, we found out there's big deer around there. The deadhead that we saw was
giant deer.
We got to talk about that deadhead. Holy cow!
Oh my gosh, the duck hunt was fun. It was fantastic. And then we got back to the parking spot, and the landowner was there, and we talked about deer. He told me about some deer he had killed before we went out.
Like state record kind of thing.
State record, yeah, not just deer, but like gigantos.
Yeah.
Consistently. Very consistently.
He can't, yeah, I guess I can say this. This piece of property, he drove us out to the blind in a side-by-side this morning, and he was telling me and Luke and Koby that for 15 years straight, every year they at least had killed 175-inch plus whitetail deer, which is...
Ain't no slouch.
No slouch. And that he had killed, and I forgot to ask him how long ago, but he had killed... He had held the state record, I think he said, right? For whitetail deer. He killed, I think, a 237 whitetail.
Yeah.
At some point, and then some 14-year-old kid neighbor just killed the new state record this last fall.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like questioning his story, but I was like, man, that seems like unreal.
Like, that's not possible.
And then he had also told us too, they're about a 50-50 split on that property with whitetail and mule deer. And we get back to the place after the morning hunt, and he went and grabbed a deadhead that he found of a mule deer that made my jaw drop. I can't remember holding a bigger set of mule deer antlers in my whole entire life.
No, I've never seen in real life anything like that.
And so when he showed that to me, I was like, okay, this is all true. And what I thought was crazy was, I'm throwing a rough number out there. I'm going to say 240 plus.
100%.
Luke and I were discussing that because
it has a very similar frame because it's a non-typical, but it had a very similar features to my biggest mule deer, which was like 187, and it made my 187 look like a baby.
Which is freaking giant, dude. 187 buck. People hunt their whole lives
for sure
to kill a 180 plus buck, and it might not ever happen.
And this thing easily had 50 inches on it.
It had it all. I mean, it was mass, width, extras, tine length is everything.
Yeah, that was a special deer.
So, just keep the story going. So, we're in the blind. We get set up. We're feeling good about the setup, and we're like, we're only shooting green today, boys. Only shooting green.
Well, because we got there. He had told us too. The landowner told us. He goes, when he dropped us off, he's like, "Call me when you guys are done. I'll come pick you up."
Don't shoot hens.
And he told me, he goes, "I figured you guys will be done by 10." I'm like limited out by 10? He's like, "Oh yeah, you'll be done by 10." I'm like, "What?" Well, so we just spent 2 days literally sitting almost all day long and giving not even a full one-man limit. And so when he said that, I was like, wow. And then we set decoys up, and then immediately birds. And we could hear birds, and we could see birds.
And they're
birds
all
everywhere.
mallards to start.
All mallards.
Nothing but mallards.
And so, I think it was Sam was like, "Are you guys all good with only shooting green?" We're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That lasted for 10 minutes.
10 minutes at most.
Well, by the mallards slowed down pretty fast, and then we passed on a lot of not mallards, and we're like, if we're going to get there today, we probably need to shoot some not mallards.
Yeah. Is that a thing, though? Like, that was definitely the case this morning. The mallards flew early, and they were heavy at first, and then it kind of just died off. Is that typical or no?
I don't think it is.
No, that's a lot.
No,
I don't think it is typical.
That.
Really?
In places where there's lots of mallards, like where there clearly is, in more northern states when you're hunting rivers, you'll see some golden eyes, tons of mallards, usually some geese. That's been my experience. Anything after that is completely random.
Yeah.
What happened today was nuts.
Yeah, that was wild because, I started out, it was like, oh, there's just mallards here, which is awesome. Like, shoot mallards all day long. But then we decided to open it up, and then we shoot a green-winged teal, and we're like, Like, well, that's a little weird.
How
like,
is there a teal right now? It's
yeah.
January in northern Colorado.
Right. They should have been in Texas for the last 2 months.
No, like since September.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, explain that because I didn't know that. Like, I've shot teal in my life, but I never even understood how that worked. But typically, teal will migrate through
they're
way before anything else.
They're the first. They're the first waterfowl to migrate. Many states have an early teal only season that's like mid-September. I grew up hunting in Texas, like in or around. It's usually whatever the closest Saturday is to September 15th. There's a 2-week early teal season, and often if you weren't at the first weekend of that, you missed it. Like they're already on the coast.
So even in Texas, a super warm state.
This is North Texas where I was hunting.
Okay, but they migrate out of there that early.
Yeah, they're coming through. So they're coming down from Canada or the Prairie Pothole region, and then they're probably done by.
So the northern birds are coming through Texas that early.
Yeah.
Okay, that tells me a lot. That explains it.
And here we are, essentially mid-January, and we shot more teal than anything else today.
Yeah, we shot, what, 10?
10 Drake green-winged teal.
Fully plumed out, just beautiful.
Beautiful birds.
Awesome little birds, man.
Yeah.
They're such good eating, too. That's actually probably my favorite duck.
To eat?
Yeah, I love teal.
Sweet.
So, yeah, the teal was first, and then there was a couple birds we were having a hard time identifying because it was still, like, the light wasn't fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and some came over. I remember Michael, he looks up, he's like, there's some pintails. I'm like, those are mergansers. Like, there's not a chance. And then sure enough, what was it, maybe 10 minutes later?
Yeah. We shot a Drake pintail. It was awesome. Then a couple hours later, when we're almost done, Casey got a sweet bull sprig.
So another, again, new to duck hunting, what pintails?
Yeah.
They're not like early migrators. They're just not a whole lot of them. They're kind of a rare bird.
I would consider them that. I mean, there's probably people that'd be like, oh man, I see them everywhere, all over the place where I'm at. I've been pretty fortunate. I've hunted waterfowl in, I don't know, 10 states, maybe more, and that was probably, that was rare. They're rare. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna just say they're rare.
And they're one of the birds that's restricted in most states too. Like Colorado, Wyoming, you couldn't shoot a full limit of pintails even if they were in there.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can shoot like, I think 2 a day. Is that right in Colorado?
Sometimes one, sometimes it depends on where.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colorado is split. There's a central flyway portion, and then on the other side of the divide, it's the Pacific flyway, and there's different rules on each part of the flyway. So.
Yeah, and it gets complicated. There's a lot.
You got to pay attention to the regs, especially in states where the flyways are different. Colorado breaks it up into like different zones too, like the northeast zone, southeast zone.
Yeah, Front Range. Yeah, all sorts of different ones.
Yeah. So what we get today? We got mallards, pintail, widgeon. Okay.
That was the mystery duck.
That was the mystery duck.
That's
was
what
widgeon.
it was.
Or no, not that.
That we were having a hard
time. That
yeah,
we couldn't identify.
Yeah,
that
we're
was
having
the
a hard
one.
time telling what it was. Usually, widgeon are pretty. They identify themselves with their.
Yeah, they never talked today at all though.
They never made a sound. It was wild.
Probably because they've been here so long. Got shot at.
Got a gadwall. One gadwall.
Gaddy.
Mm-hmm.
A golden eye.
Bufflehead.
A bufflehead. We're leaving something out.
Did you say
a couple?
mallard?
Yeah, mallard.
Teal,
Yeah.
you didn't count a
We
teal.
were at seven. We were at 7 plus the one.
There was one. It's a juvenile something that it was. It was very intriguing. It was like it was slightly larger than a dove, but it.
Yeah, it was smaller than a teal, like significantly.
Yeah, about half the size of a green-winged teal. I'm like, what on? I thought it was a teal
Mm-hmm.
when I shot it, and I was like, what on earth is going on here? Anyway, really fun, really fun mixed bag of birds today. 5-man limit, which was awesome. Not too many times you can do that unless you just have great access to an amazing spot. So to be able to book a property and just kind of go and do a 5-man limit hunt is pretty amazing.
Well, what I was most impressed with was how the shotguns perform, because I've always shot Weatherby rifles, but I've been shooting the same pump shotgun since I was like in 5th grade, just because you can always cycle it through, and I always just kind of had
I
trust
saw that
issues.
pump shotgun yesterday. You've it's well polished.
It's had a few rounds.
Yeah.
Had a nice patina.
Like
Yeah.
most people that have had that shotgun since they were kids, they're beat up.
They are.
But I mean, I would just assume, because I used to, be a pretty hardcore waterfowler, and be crawling through the mud and hunting. Like today, the wind's blowing. There was a little bit of sleet coming down. It was 20 degrees. The dogs running out. Like they had ice on their vests that was.
It was almost
a half
it
inch.
was
It
I
was
was about to say
thick.
somewhere between a half inch and inch thick. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was wild, and they're rubbing up back and forth on the guns, and like that would be locking up a lot of pump guns. Zero issues. So I was kind of mind blown from my.
Well, you too shot them well. I think you were playing us, because almost everybody that I've seen that grew up shooting a pump shotgun, and then they try a semi-auto for probably not the first time you shot a semi-auto, but probably first time you like really hunted with one, right? So almost everybody strokes that thing trying to
Trying to get the next one in.
Yeah, cycle another shell in there, and you never did that.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing. I fully expected to be sitting there like looking like an idiot. Just But yeah, I don't know why. For whatever reason, it just I don't know, felt natural.
Now this is kind of the next evolution to the 18i shotgun. So this is going to be pretty much strictly waterfowl models, and we tried to do a lot of little touches, like there on the bottom. There's like the loading port. It's got a really aggressive cut, so it's real easy with gloves on to load your neck shells into the mag tube. The bolt release button, some people call it the slammer button. It's got a huge paddle on it.
That's
so
nice,
you
man.
Just with glove, you
Yep.
just like touch it, and it's real easy. Sometimes those little bitty ones that
You
you gotta like
can't really
can't really
you're trying
feel
to
it with
push
the
it
thick
in.
waterfowl glove on, and so there's a lot of little things like that on there. We didn't even talk about this, but the top is actually tapped and drilled. So
Oh, really?
if you want to put a scope on it and go turkey hunting with it or whatever, like it's ready to roll.
Oh, dang, that's cool.
So, yeah.
Tell me this: when you guys release a new, rifle, shotgun, whatever it might be, like, typically how does that work? Does somebody within the company have an idea? Like you guys, the 18i, it's kind of based off that. But like, how does that all? Like, how did this come about? And how long does that typically take you guys?
Man, that's I call it a how long is a piece of string question.
Oh.
Like there's so many different ways that it can come to be. Like in this case of this shotgun, the 18i always did well, but we tried to like maybe too much with the 18i. It's got like the deluxe has always done really well, but the waterfowl model got lost a little bit in the sea of all the other shotguns. We're like, we need like a feature, and we didn't know it was going to be this left-handed thing out of the gate, or the aggressive cut on the loading port, but we're like, we got to do something to the 18i to just like make it stand out.
Yeah.
So we went out on a mission to figure out what that was. We tried a bunch of things. Long story short, we settled on what is now the SORIX shotgun. But then even once you do that, there's like, you got to figure out how to make it. You got to figure out if it runs the way you expect it to run. So there's a year of testing and trial and error to make sure you got it dialed. So it'll be available in a 3-inch version, a 3.5-inch version. What I think is really unique to me is one of the things that we would look at when we're trying to develop a new thing is what does Weatherby have that's different than maybe what other manufacturers do. We've gotten really good at decorating, painting, dipping, Cerakoting, whatever.
Yep.
But we've gotten really good on our rifle line, and our team for decorating stocks has done really well, and more than just doing a hydrographic transfer with camo pattern. So we did this sponge paint pattern, which you guys all were hunting with, and it looks good.
Dude,
It's photogenic.
there was 3 different ones that we had down here.
Yeah.
And man, every one is so sharp.
That's why we shot so good.
It is.
Look good, feel
No.
good, feel good, shoot good.
No, my high school soccer coach said if you can't be good, you should look good.
So this
And
is
these are both
Yeah.
looking good, and they are
That's
good.
right. That's right.
Yeah, they are very sharp, man. You guys did a fantastic job with them.
Yeah, I think it's unique because you go to a gun shop and you see all the different shotguns on the shelf, and you're like, and they're all camo, they all kind of blend together. These are going to stand out, and it doesn't matter if you're a first light or whatever your pattern. It doesn't matter. Most of the waterfowl patterns pretty much have the same color palette, and so we just kind of used that color palette with sponge paint and
just mixed it up a little bit.
Kind of matches everything. It looks good.
Yeah, they're sexy, man.
Thinking about it now, like when I was taking some pictures in the blinds, when we'd have like slow seconds, I found myself like always trying to incorporate the gun, and I don't work for Weatherby. Like, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just like, that's pretty. That goes well with this. I've never once has that ever crossed my mind when I'm taking a photo.
Yeah. It's the little things. It's the little things that matter.
They're very photogenic, and on that they're fun to document, but each of the 3 colors that we had with us kind of goes good in its each and own environment. Like our storm color, it's black and kind of silver gray. Kodiak, it was perfect for that environment. It looked great in that environment.
Yeah.
It kind of blended in a way, but it also showed up well in images. The slew color, which is tan and
kind of browns. Yeah.
It went well on our Montana hunt and this hunt in sloughs, hunting that. It would be a great kind of field hunt out of. And then Midnight Marsh is black with whites and browns on it. Well, dull white, and it kind of goes good anywhere.
Yeah.
They're great looking guns. And
so everyone should buy 3.
Yeah,
absolutely. You need the full set. We are going to do some dipped in like your traditional waterfowl patterns, just because like that's the sponge paint's a new thing. I can say I don't know of anybody that's ever done that decoration style on a shotgun.
Yeah,
so
it's very unique for sure.
It's either going to go really good or really bad, and I'm banking on good.
It's going to go really good, man.
Banking on good. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The project, getting the SORIX to market, it's been a lot of fun. I get to lead the product development team, and there's so many, just like in production, there's a lot of hands that like physically make something. Bringing a product to market is like you got to raise a little baby product child thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. You have to name it. Like even the name, in a lot of ways it's harder than naming a kid.
Yeah, I bet.
Because you got to agree with your wife when you name your kid.
Yeah.
When you're naming a product, it's like often like 7, 8, 9 people involved, and trying to get 8 or 9 people to involve on a word that sometimes didn't even exist before. You're like, whew, that's tough. But
I like the story behind the name too.
Yeah.
I was asking a little bit about it yesterday, and soar is very similar to what a duck does, right?
Yeah.
Soaring around the air.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a birdie type word with a bird soar, and then like I was telling you, we're kind of like there's a thing with X, like you want to be on the spot.
Yeah.
When you're duck hunting, and
you want to stop that soar.
Yeah, you want to stop it.
Yeah.
And
SORIX.
There you go.
Soar no more.
The soar ended right here at the X.
Yeah. So there's some games that we play when we're trying to figure out how to name a new thing, and it's a lot of fun. We're happy with where it landed, both from the name, the product, the features. It's pretty good stuff. So, any parting thoughts, Case?
Man, I just had a super good time. I'm excited. We killed a bunch of birds, and then we spent, how long did it take us? 2 hours to clean them all?
Wow. Yeah.
But we're going to cook up some duck tonight. I've never cooked duck myself, so I'm telling you guys that right now. I've been bragging about how good duck is for the last 3 days.
I cook breakfast, you cook dinner, we'll be good.
I think it should be a team effort.
Oh, okay.
But I've had duck cooked for me 3 or 4 times now here in the last couple of years by guys that know what's up. And it's amazing if you do it right. I'd say it's the same as any wild game. There's definitely ways to make wild game not taste great, but if you do it right, it always tastes really good.
Absolutely.
And I think the same with duck. I think duck has always had that like negative, it tastes like a swamp because that's where, they live or whatever. But I'm excited to cook it up and eat it tonight with you guys. But just thanks for the invite to come down here and hang out and have a good time, man. It's been a blast. And I think you said it best yesterday when we were closing out the video for the day. But duck hunting and waterfowl hunting it's fun to get out and kill some ducks and hopefully you find some success. But the fun of it is just it's one of those hunts that you're in a blind with your buddies, talking trash, ribbing each other. But you're just enjoying the time out there in the woods, and that's really what we did the last 3 days. So. Appreciate the invite to come down and do that with you guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. Koby, anything?
Yeah, I can't agree more with your closing statement and documenting that and trying to show that to people is pretty fun. I'm very new to what Infinite Outdoors is, and it's a super cool piece that, I could see myself looking into for future adventures when I, maybe want to get into a new state or, like you said, looking for a little bit of opportunity when you might not have time to scout an area, but you can kind of invest a little bit of your money into it, and it kind of helps you on the time aspect. So pretty sweet what you guys are doing, and awesome getting to know you a little better, Casey.
Yeah, man, likewise.
And hanging with you, and first of many, I'm sure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, no, super fun couple days, and excited to keep the content rolling from Weatherby here.
It's been epic. Koby's darn good behind the lens.
You hired a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty
incredible.
awesome.
You
Sam?
hired a good one.
No, it's been an amazing few days, and good hunts are hard to find, and good people are even harder. So it's nice to be able to share that experience, and just makes it all worth it, and also pretty cool to turn from a diehard pump guy into a semi-auto
guy,
high-tech guy like all you guys.
You shot great. This was a really fun hunt.
Yeah, they had us
like
the first half. I'm not gonna lie.
They had us the first half. They did, but then I think we got our revenge today. Sam, I think what you do for Infinite and the property access is revolutionary. It's like super cool.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to more of that. Always fun to hunt with you, Case. Koby, I can't wait to see what some of those shots look like. Saw a couple of stills. Look fire.
Yeah.
So awesome. Go check out the new SORIX shotgun, weatherby.com.